HIV/AIDS cure finally found. Doctors confirm on July 28, 2016. The death of Dr. Serby is reported on August 6, 2016, so just over a week later, and they bumped him off. However, HIV/AIDS cure was found back in early 1990 by Dr. Bob Beck, who produced a device that cured AIDS and also cancer, but hey, they don't want us to know that. In the news today, some more shit we made up. Nottingham City Council finally tell the truth that they did destroy files to protect their paedophiles. And the former leader has left because he knows he's going to get a heavy tar brush coming down on him from proving that he's a paedophile enabler and all that sort of stuff. Speaking about councils, they sell us this diversity while they destroy this other. Don't wash your hair in the shower. It's so good to finally get a health warning that is useful. It involves the shampoo when it runs down your body. When you shower with it, a warning to us all. I don't know why I didn't figure this out sooner. I use shampoo in the shower. I don't. When I wash my hair, the shampoo runs down my whole body, and printed very clearly on the bottom label is this warning: for extra body and volume. No wonder I have been gaining weight. Well, I got rid of that shampoo and I'm going to start showering with Dawn dishwashing soap instead. Its label reads, dissolves fat that is otherwise difficult to remove. Problem solved. Fact: for every molecule of sugar you consume, it takes 54 molecules of magnesium for your body to process it. And that's why we've all got magnesium deficiency. BBC News condensed. Cream of bullshit made with 100% fake news. Why people are in denial. Cognitive dissonance. Sometimes people hold a core belief that is very strong. When they are presented with evidence that works against that belief, the new evidence cannot be accepted. It would create a feeling that is extremely uncomfortable, called cognitive dissonance. And because it is so important to protect the core belief, they will rationalize, ignore, and even deny anything that doesn't fit in with their core belief. And that's why they're getting away with it so much. Exclusive. Labradors subjected to cruel tests paid for by British Heart Foundation. A charity is funding cruel tests on dogs which will be forced to suffer painful heart failure over several weeks before they are killed. Tens of thousands of pounds of donations to the British Heart Foundation will finance the experiments at Maastricht University in Holland. Researchers will use 39 Labradors in the tests, which are designed to improve pacemakers for humans and to combat heart disease. Scientists say that dogs and humans have similar hearts and that Labradors are a good choice because their hearts are a similar size. They say tests on pigs, sheep and goats have been unsuccessful. After the dogs have been fitted with pacemakers under anaesthetic, scientists will increase the rate of the pacemaker for up to 6 weeks, causing the animal's heart to beat unnaturally fast. All charities. Global warming stopped 16 years ago, reveals Met Office report quietly released, and here is the chart to prove it. The figures reveal that from the beginning of 1997 until August 2012, there was no discernible rise in aggregate global temperatures. This means that the pause in global warming has now lasted for about the same time as the previous period when temperatures rose 1980 to 1996. The world stopped getting warmer almost 16 years ago, according to new data released last week. And they've known this all along. That's why they changed it from global warming to climate change. Because whether it gets hot, cold or stays the same, it's still your fault and we're going to have to tax you for it. The figures, which have triggered debate among climate scientists, reveal that from the beginning of 1997 until August 2012, there was no discernible rise in aggregate global temperatures. This means that the plateau or pause in global warming has now lasted for about the same time the previous period, when temperature rose 80 to 96. Before that, temperatures had been stable or declining for about 40 years. And there's a graph, and the links are in the description if you want to read the rest. But if you're watching my stuff, you already know global warming's a scam. They are trying to depopulate the planet by many different means. I saw this and I thought, wow. American cops now steal more property than all US burglars combined. For decades now, federal government and their cohorts in law enforcement have been carrying out theft of citizenry on a massive scale. We're not talking about taxes, but an insidious power known as civil asset forfeiture. The 1980s era laws were designed to drain resources from powerful criminal organisations, but CAF has become a tool for law enforcement agencies across the US to steal money and property from countless innocent people. No criminal charge is required for this confiscation, resulting in easy inflows of cash for law enforcement departments and the proliferation of abuse. The phenomenon is known as policing for profit. In the last 25 years, the amount of profit stolen through CAF has skyrocketed. According to the US Department of Justice, the value of assets forfeiture recoveries by US authorities from 1989 to 2010 was $12,667,612,066, increasing on average 19.5% per year. In 2008, law enforcement took over $1.5 billion from the American people. While this summer seems incredibly large, just a few years later, in 2014, that big tripled by nearly $4.5 billion. When we examine these numbers and their nearly exponential growth curve, it appears that police in America are getting really good at separating the citizen from their property. Not just really good, criminally good. To put this number into perspective, according to the FBI, victims of burglary offences suffered an estimated $3.9 billion in property loss in 2014. That means that law enforcement in America has stolen 600 million more than Americans than actually criminal burglars. When police surpass the criminal accomplishment of those they claim to protect you from, there is a serious problem. I don't think we'll disagree to that. A 21-year-old woman spent her last moments alive convulsing, vomiting and begging for help in jail for traffic tickets as officers ignored her. Woman dies in jail over unpaid traffic tickets, begging for help as officers ignore her. Mineral County, NV. Unpaid traffic tickets saw a Nevada woman in jail where she began to suffer drug withdrawals and seizures. Days later, she was dead after being denied medical care. A report by state investigators published this week and revealed by the Reno Gazette-Journal found that staff at Mineral County Jail violated multiple policies by denying 21-year-old Kelly Coltrane medical help, even after she informed them she was dependent on heroin and would suffer seizures without the drug. In a day-long ordeal caught on her cell's CCTV camera, Coltrane vomited and shook as her condition worsened. Officers rejected her pleas for medical help, instead handing her a mop and bucket to clean up her own vomit. New study links over 7,000 cancer deaths to cell phone tower radiation exposure. Could exposure to radiation from cell phone towers really be responsible for over 7,000 cancer deaths? According to research findings in Brazil, the facts speak for themselves. The study established a direct link between cancer deaths in Belo Horizonte, Brazil, third largest city and cell phone network. What does this direct link stem from? Over 80% of those who succumb to certain types of cancer reside approximately a third of a mile away from one of the hundreds of cell phone antennae that populate the city. These cancers, primarily found in the prostate, breast, lungs, kidney, liver, and the one associated with exposure to electromagnetic fields. This is the real concern that's for cell phone users and even non-cell phone users. Those who shun mobile phone technology still suffer with the consequences of cell phone tower radiation. In the Brazilian study, an isolated study, cell phone tower studies which examine the relationship between radiation exposure and cancer rates were conducted in the city of San Francisco, in addition to cities in Austria, Germany and Israel, dating as far back as the 1970s. All the studies shared similar findings. Living within a certain proximity to a cell tower increased the risk of cancer anywhere from 2 to 121 times, depending on what type of cancer was detected. Adilza Condeza Dodi, PhD, one of the engineers researchers as well as the coordinator of the Brazilian study, addressed those who are concerned about cell phone tower radiation and explains the Brazilian study does not stand alone. Links in the description if you want to read more of that. They have no fear. A dozen new Epstein abuse victims come forward. Jeffrey Epstein's defense team is arguing that their client should be released on house arrest until his trial. They're also arguing that the charges being brought against Epstein in New York were previously resolved in Florida 10 years ago, where Epstein stuck into his sweetheart deal with prosecutors led by non-Labor Secretary Alex Acosta. But it appears the FBI requests that any other victims of Epstein come forward succeeded in convincing more than a dozen women whose cases were not part of the Florida prosecution to come forward and testify about the abuse they suffered at the hands of Epstein. According to the Miami Herald, which received prosecutors' interest in Epstein with its Perversion of Justice series of investigation reports about how Epstein has let off with a slap on the wrist and minimal jail time, despite evidence that he was an inveterate, unrepentant paedophile. At least 4 women have contacted David Boris on the New York Power lawyer who represented some of Epstein's victims, and at least 10 others have approached the other lawyers who have previously represented Epstein's victims. Links in description if you want to read the rest. British families at risk from smart meter, campaigner tells MPs. Smart energy meters offered to every British home could be as dangerous as a bullet from a rifle because the radiation they emit, campaigners have told MPs. Officials said smart meters are perfectly safe as the level of radiation they emit is less than that of a mobile phone. Energy companies are planning to install the device in British homes by 2019 to make gas and electric readings more accurate. However, Stop Smart Meters UK told MPs that there is evidence the radiation could be 140 to 800 times higher than that from mobile phones. Dr. Liz Evans, a campaigner, said there are hundreds of studies showing evidence of harm could be acute, including possible chronic effects from long-term exposure such as cancer, infertility, dementia, genetic damage, immune system dysfunction and damage to fetuses. We are many of organisations calling for a precautionary approach, particularly for children, she said. Mike Mitchin, another campaigner, said there is evidence that it could be 140 to 800 times more powerful than mobile phones. He said the exposure to radiation from smart meters is very short in the same way, and the rest links in description if you want to read the rest. The Real Angel of the North, the abuse of young girls by Rochdale sex gangs is one of the greatest scandals of our time. In a shattering new book, the policewoman who revealed the truth breaks her silence and shames the supervisors who betrayed her. Former police officer Maggie Oliver worked on Rochdale's child abuse investigation. Mother of 4 persuaded girls who were being abused to talk to police. She resigned from police force after claiming victims had been failed by officers. They were robbed of their childhood by a gang of Asian paedophiles and dismissed as white trash by the people who should know better. To me, however, the two girls at the heart of the Rochdale scandal are like my surrogate children. Amber and Ruby, not their real names, are both grown up now with children of their own. But I know they still don't feel safe. This week, Amber told me that one of her abusers works in a takeaway close to her home in Rochdale. Her worst fright, though, came last year when she allowed her daughter to play outside a friend's house with some of other children. Later, after saying goodbye to her friend, Amber turned and found one of her abusers in front of her, staring at her little girl, smirking. He walked calmly to his car and drove away. Oh, he knew who Amber was, all right. He was also fully aware that he'd escaped justice, like so many of his mates who'd also raped and sexually abused the sisters. They too still freely walk the streets of Rochdale, so why weren't they prosecuted? As a former police officer who was once at the centre of the Rochdale sex gang investigation, and as the whistleblower who exposed its appalling flaws, I believe I know the answer. It's politics. Another giant paedophile ring busted, 900 arrested, 300 kids saved, and corporate media ignores it all. It's been almost 2 years of the investigation known as Operation Pacifier, but 870 suspected paedophiles have now been arrested. The news was announced on Friday by the FBI and Europol, just days after a court sentenced Florida-based Stephen Chase to 30 years in prison. Chase is an alleged founder of the Playpen paedophile network. Thriving on the darknet, Playpen works around legalities by using encrypted and anonymity software to ensure users keep their identities hidden. The secret network allowed users to anonymously share photos and videos that exposed the sexual abuse of children. The FBI used malware to occupy the forum, which ultimately gave them the ability to track and identify its users. Chase's 2014 arrest marked the beginning of a long investigation into the members-only forum, resulting in hundreds of arrests. However, despite at least 259 sexually abused children having been identified from the massive underground network, American mainstream media has remained silent to the story. And that tells you who controls them, the same paedophiles that run the country. The Guardian. Turn yourself in, police say in ambassador leak inquiry. Scotland Yard launches criminal investigation into the disclosure of UK diplomatic cables. Now, the reason they're asking for them to turn themselves in is because the police are so useless they couldn't track them down themselves, and that happens in everything. The only time they get a victory is when someone's dumb enough to grass themselves up. Trump accuser, I now sleep with a loaded gun by my bedside. Don't talk shit. What such utter crap these papers put out. Telegraph. Scotland Yard warns over leaks of secrets. Publisher will face prosecution if diplomatic cables are revealed in print or online. Heathrow staff plot summer strike chaos. Court of King Roger. The Times. Public will be advised how much sleep to get, because they can't figure it out for themselves. I sleep until I wake up. That's how I've done it all my life. It seems to work. Ministers plan alcohol-style guidelines for rest. Trying to make themselves look useful when they're absolutely useless. Yes, 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 the latest turn-on for women. Oh la la, the top B&Bs in France. And Federer. Express. Man on the moon, 50 years on. Except, of course, they never went there. It was all done in a studio somewhere. And the evidence for that is overwhelming. Bitter PM rivals row over EU exit date. Boris Brexit delay insane. Simply majestic, peerless Federer in 12th Wimbledon final, age 37. Daily fail, freeing aside giant moon landing poster that never took place because it was all faked. World exclusive. Video impact will offer hope to millions. A cure for blindness. Doctors have restored sight to the blind by sending video images directly to their brain. Interesting. Anthea's TV star sister, how I ended up living in my car. Mirror. Meet 70 million football star with 2 wives. And his party with Freed, Perv and Woody. Oh yeah, they're all dirty pedos there. Woody Harrelson, Prince Andrew the paedophile, and Epstein we know is an absolute dirty filthy paedophile, just like the rest of them there. This scum. Ed, my constant battle with social anxiety. I feel like a zoo animal. Well, you wanted fame and fortune, and it comes at a price, I guess. Trained kill maniac is going druggy. Is gang druggy. Oh. Aye. Britain sends extra warship to the Gulf, but we haven't got any. HMS Duncan to be deployed to Middle East waters in face of rising tensions with Iran. This is the build-up for the start of World War III. UK wants to de-escalate situation after Iranian tanker seized off Gibraltar, says Hunt. Tehran warns Britain not to enter dangerous game in political crisis. So it's all, they're just heading it, they're steering it where they want it to go, and they want World War III, and that's what they're trying to steer it towards. Wireless charging roads coming to UK. David Nichols, I was a bit of an Adrian Mole. Annabelle Weir, call it a night, if only I could. Wow. Waste of paper. Love R. Russell shooting horror. Build a gun down in attack at Comics House. Game deck and match. Who done it? Britain's most stolen dog breed. FT. Lucy Kellaway on being 60. I don't know who that is. It looks like Amanda Tapping. Yeah. Thomas Cook lines up for Sun Rescue. Chinese group in 750 mil deal. Package swap. Debts for equity. Shares plunges 60%. Djokovic wins place in final. Signs of recovery in London high-end home sales, but sentiment still fragile. Fear for Merkel's health tests. Respect for privacy. And finally, I don't always act like a rebel, but when I do, it's because I have no choice. I cannot conform to a society fast asleep in a bed of lies. Husband and wife died of 7,000 years. You notice that the man was silent, his wife is still speaking.